Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. The presentation is Sonny Hirsch and myself. NTNM.org, over 1/3 videos watched on YouTube. That'll give you all the links and what's going on in future shows. We want to thank everybody for their participation in National Night Out and remind everybody that the police candlelight visual is September 13th at Soldiers Field at 7:30 to 9 o'clock. Just east of Soldier Field, get up at 18th and the Lake, free parking. It is a pleasure to introduce you to somebody who's been on a guest on the show before, and very knowledgeable commissioner of the Board of Review, and that's Dan Patlak. How are you?
I'm well, Avi. Thanks for having me on the show.
First of all, thank you, and thank you so much for coming.
It's great to be here. It's been a couple of years, I think, since I was last on.
Yeah, it has been. Now, how long is the term for commissioner?
It's 4 years, although the term I'm in is going to be expiring in a couple of months.
So you're going to be on the ballot this November.
I'm on November 8th. Yes, that's true.
But that's not throughout the entire county. You're in a specific region.
I represent 1/3 of Cook County by population, so it's 1.7 million people. The geography is huge, though. It stretches from Glencoe in the northeast all the way to Barrington in the west. And then it goes down south. It goes through Des Plaines and Park Ridge and through Rosemont. It keeps on going down all the way to Lamont. And then it takes a left. It goes through Palos and Orland and Worth Township, and it ends up on the border of Indiana in Lansing, Illinois. Like a big C around the city of Chicago.
It's interesting because there's actually a county, one of the county board seats also stretches basically from just about, the county line.
There was one that's about 35, 40 miles long.
Down
it's
south.
Much thinner than mine, but yes.
And yeah, some of those suburbs you're talking about are more than 200 south. Mm-hmm. And Glencoe is pretty far north.
It's as north as you can go in Cook County, that is.
Yeah. So how many miles do you put in a campaign?
Oh, thousands. It's a lot of traveling. It's hard work, but I enjoy doing it. I like meeting my constituents.
Now, why don't you tell people what the Board of Review is?
Well, the Board of Review is the county office that reviews property assessment appeals. So, for instance, if you think that your assessment is higher than it ought to be, it's unfair, you can come to our office, you can file a complaint, provide us with evidence if you've got some, and we will take a look at the evidence and figure out whether or not your assessment should be reduced. And if we do reduce it, that will result in a lower tax bill for you.
As a matter of fact, after interviewing guys like you, it was actually after I interviewed you, because the first time you were on the air, you actually explained the process in a way that I understood. Because, I mean, I'm not really like a financial type. I'm much more a political type, so to speak, and, more like, history, social science, not. But I actually understood what was going on after you explained it last time. And I did file an appeal, and it saved me about $150, $200. And that was just for 1 year. And then I filed an appeal again this time around. And basically, I paid a lawyer something like 1/3 to a half of 1 year's savings, but the savings go on for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I think I wound up spending about $150, and I save about $800, which is cool.
Well, that's good. The opportunity is open for all taxpayers. The order of appeals is this: you can first appeal to the Cook County Assessor's Office. Now, the Cook County Assessor's Office, their main job is to assess all property in Cook County. But they have a sideline. They also have appeals. But if you go to the assessor and you're not successful, or you decide to skip the assessor, you can come right to us, the Board of Review, and file an appeal. Somewhere between 55 and about 70% of all the appeals filed at the Board of Review actually receive a reduction of some sort.
But by the way, I will tell people that there are, like for instance, if you're in this neighborhood, Commissioner Larry Sufferton of Cook County, his office will help you up to a point, because he'll do whatever is legal that it's allowed, and he's a good guy. But when I've tried filing on my own, I never got anywhere. I didn't know what I was doing, so it was worth it to me to get the lawyer.
Well, you know what? You live in Chicago, so you don't have a township assessor. But in all 30 suburban townships, there are township assessors. They don't assess property. Their title probably really should be taxpayer advocate, because what they're there for is to help taxpayers with all kinds of problems. And one of the problems is, I think I'm overassessed, I want to file an appeal, but I don't really know how to do it. You walk into their office, and they'll help you file that appeal. They'll help you get the evidence that you need. Of course, if you come to one of my assessment appeal seminars, and I have about 40 or 50 of them a year, you will learn from me how to get the evidence yourself, how to look it up online, how to file online, and you can do it all on your own.
We'll have to check that out next time around, but
Sure.
I'm good for 3 years now, thank God. The period just started, and it's nice to see, even though it wasn't a huge reduction, you know, the fact is, the way they're spiking real estate taxes in Chicago, every little bit helps.
It sure does. You know, I want to mention something to you.
Sure.
Last time I was on your show, the Board of Review was run in a very different way than it's run now. Our whole system back then was completely paper-driven. So in other words, while we did allow people to file online, and that actually started right after I took office, that was all the technology we really used. And that meant that you filed online, but then everything after that was on paper. So we would create a paper file. You would submit paper evidence. That paper evidence would go in the file. The file would be given to the analyst to review. And by the way, 3 analysts look at every file. So that file would be transferred from one analyst to another, and then their decision would be typed in by data entry people into our database. The file would eventually go into a file cabinet for storage for 5 years. Since that time, we've been working on a project for about 3 years. It launched 1 year ago in August. It's called the Digital Appeals Processing System. And so now we have gone completely digital.
Cool.
And while you could, if you want to, still file an appeal using paper, if you chose to, you could file paper evidence if you wanted to, we would scan all that and it would go into an electronic system. But we are encouraging people not only to file online, but to upload their evidence online and to create an account which is interactive, and you can go back and forth from that account and you can continually check what evidence in there. Once our analysts make a decision, you not only get a letter from us informing you of the decision, you also get to look in your file and see not only did the analyst look at your evidence, but what other evidence did he put into the file and why did he make his decision? Because he'll write a note about, especially if he turned you down, he'll write the reason why he turned you down.
Interesting.
And that file now, which we're required by law to save for 5 years,
Yeah.
it's saved electronically. So we're gonna over the years, we're gonna get rid of about 1 million paper files.
Wow.
And open up for the county a lot of extra storage space that other offices can use because we won't be needed anymore. The system we're using actually puts us at the forefront of technology for any government office in all of the United States of America.
Very cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, people don't realize how much government spends just on storing papers and files, and you know, digitally converting everything. It'd be great, and a good savings. So anyway, election is November 8th. Early voting starts about 2 weeks prior.
I believe it's October 24th, and I am on the ballot. I do have an opponent, so I'm going to be working very hard to earn everybody's vote. But you know, I'll be running on my experience, my qualifications, and my achievements at the board. And at this point, achievement number 1 is this digital appeals processing system. We've really revolutionized the way we've done things. And last year, we had a record year at the Board of Review. We adjudicated 175,000 property index numbers, and we could never have done it if we didn't have this digital appeals processing system.
Wow.
Which would have meant we would have finished late, which would have meant that tax bills would have been issued late, which would have meant local taxing districts would have gotten their money late, and they would have had to dip into their reserves or issue tax anticipation warrants, and that would have cost taxpayers more money. So this system is paying off right now.
Yeah. Let me remind you guys also to make sure you pick up Jewish Chicago, where we'll be discussing the race in detail, because he's definitely within our geographic area. I want to thank you very much, Commissioner for the Board of Review, running for re-election as a Republican, Dan Patlak.
Thanks for having me on, Avi.
My pleasure. Do you have a website?
Electpatlak.com, and we've got a lot of information, not only on me, but on the tax appeal system.
So that's, say again?
Electpatlak.com.
And by the way, you can also friend him on Facebook. He's a big believer in social media.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, Dan, and good luck in the election.
Thanks a lot.